سلام، من پارسیا هستم، یه دانشجو McMaster هستم.
سلام، من ندا هستم، مامان پارسیا. امروز میخوایم براتون تحچین که یه غذای ایرانیه درست کنیم.
Tahchin actually means arrange from bottom. What happens is that you start with layering rice, then your vegetables or meat, and then another layer of rice. And once you flip that dish, there's something called a tadig made. And tadig means the bottom of the pot. And what that refers to is when you cook the dish, the rice actually caramelizes. And this allows tadig to be made, which is this very nice, crispy, caramelized, gorgeous, piece of rice that people just love, and makes a nice cracking sound when you cut into it. So the history of Tachin is very interesting because in the past, like centuries before time of Christ, in the times of Alexander the Great or Cyrus the Great, Tahchin was usually a dish that royalties ate. And the reason for this is because, it had very expensive ingredients in it, such as saffron, pistachios, and the fact is, long time ago, rice was something that wasn't cultivated in Iran, so it came through the Silk Road. So it was something that, only the very privileged had access to. Fortunately for us, those ingredients are much less expensive now. And, anybody in their house can make tahchin. But due to its history, oftentimes tahchin is made in big ceremonies such as weddings, birthday parties, or just, big family gatherings at someone's house. The fact that it's easily able to be shared, like, cutting up a slice of cake, allows tahchin to be the perfect food to share with one another.
So I'm really good in making tahchin. Everybody comes over, they want I make tahchin for them. Even when we go to potluck parties, they always tell me you make tahchin. So I usually make it with chicken, but when I have vegetarian guests over, I put vegetables inside. And tahchin can be used as a side dish. So on the other side, they can put vegetables, protein, and this masto khiyar that is almost tzatziki, and they make a plate to have this. And in the wedding ceremonies, birthday parties, or New Year gatheration, I usually make tahchin.
We're going to start with my favorite spice, which is saffron. I love saffron a lot because, it's very unique to Persian culture, and you use it in very big festivals. And it's really, every time you have saffron, it's because there's a nice celebration, something good to happen. And now I'd like to talk about pistachios. Pistachios are actually like the favorite nut of Iran. It's well known by all Persian that pistachios are a luxury nut, and if you know anything about Persians, they love nuts. There's stores dedicated to just selling nuts called a tabazo, and nuts are called ajil, which is like a trail mix, but a Persian version of that.
So this is barberry. Barberry grows on bushes. It taste is similar to cranberry, like dried cranberry. It's sweet and sour taste. If you didn't have barberry, you can just use cranberry that is available in Canada.
So this right here is basmati rice. Fun fact, technically Persians use Persian grain rice, but that's very hard to find in Canada. But most people here replace with basmati rice because it's still a very long grain rice, which is what you need for a lot of Persian cuisine. If you can find basmati rice, that'd be perfect. You don't have to go look for Persian long grain rice, and it makes the dish taste perfect, just fine. Here are 2 eggs. For this dish, we'll use 1, but based off of how much you're making, you can use more. You need this because you need to make a batter later on when you add the rice to the batter. And so this is essential to making that to tahchin because you need the rice to stick together, and the egg is very good for binding that batter. This is musmusir, which is essentially yogurt with garlic, parsley, cucumbers, kind of like tzatziki. You can use any type of yogurt to make this. This is actually for after when you want to serve the dish. You always put like a small amount of yogurt next to your tahchin. We will be using yogurt in this dish, but that's just any plain yogurt for the batter. And you guys will just see that later. Growing up, Tahchin was often made with chicken, at least where I was brought up. And coming to Canada, we actually had a guest who made this dish with eggplant. And to be honest, at first I thought that was very blasphemous because I'm like, what? Who makes Tahchin with eggplant? Then I talked to my mom, and she told me, you know what, Parsia, eggplant's okay. Like, there are a lot of people that use eggplant. And the reason they actually ended up using eggplant is because they're vegetarian. And so for us, now that we have vegetarian guests come over, we always make Tachin for them too, because you can replace the filling with eggplants or any other vegetables. Some people like mushrooms. You can use spinach, a mixture of those. And if you don't even if you only eat fish, for instance, I learned that in the south of Iran, they actually use fish for Tachin. So I think it just goes to show that this dish doesn't really have a rule book like I thought it did in the past. You could just make it however you want, and the world is your oyster when it comes to Tahchin. And like I said before, Tahchin means arranging from the bottom to the top. So you start with your first layer of rice, and then what makes this perfect for students like myself is that in the middle layer you can add anything you want, right? So if you're feeling like you need to get more of your vegetables in, or if because you're vegetarian, you can use spinach, Brussels sprouts, anything, right? Because it's just kind of like a cake with a nice layer in it. Or if you want to have more meat-based protein options, you can use lamb, chicken, or even plant-based protein options such as kidney beans, things like that. I think it's the perfect dish for any student to make. And what's great about it too is that because it comes out in a big portion like a cake, you can actually cut it off and meal prep it throughout the week. That's perfect for students too, because while this dish is meant to be shared over a table, for students that can also be very difficult at times, and you could better utilize the dish for meal prepping.
So I washed the rice, 1 cup of rice. I washed it 2 times. You can wash 2 or 3 times till the starch goes away. And then for each cup of rice, I added 1.5 cup of water. I use basmati white rice. If somebody likes brown rice, it's okay, they can use it. I usually make with white rice because the color looks better with saffron. But for healthier options, you can use brown rice, and you can use Greek yogurt instead of regular yogurt. So I add a little bit salt and oil to this, just a little bit. And then we turn it on till the rice starts to boil. After it boiled, we reduce the heat to medium till the rice becomes cooked. It takes around 10-15 minutes, depends to the amount of the rice to be cooked.
So Mom, I want to ask you, why do you use oil for the rice dish? Because I know other people in other cultures, they don't necessarily add oil when they want to cook rice.
Because I don't want that the rice be sticky. We want the grains be separate. So we add a little bit. It can be sunflower oil or any vegetable oil, or it can be butter. Depends to your taste. It can be either avocado oil. So we turn on the heat to maximum till it starts boiling. Meanwhile, we will cut the eggplants. So it started boiling. I will reduce the heat till the inside of the rice becomes perfect. It has to be cooked completely.
Is 5 low enough?
It's medium now. Then when it bubbled more, I will reduce to lowest.
Okay. What we want to do with the eggplant is to cut it up into, half an inch, Mom?
Yes.
Would you say that? Like maybe a centimeter? And the reason for that is because we actually want to fry it up. So in this case, we're using Chinese eggplants because they actually tend to cook faster than other eggplants. And they're just, just something we use in our house. But the truth is, you don't have to use eggplants. As I learned, it doesn't have to be eggplants. It doesn't have to be chicken. It could be anything. So you can have mushrooms. You can have spinach and mushrooms. You can have fish, lamb. So, just whatever you have in your fridge. Like, as students, we oftentimes have things we need to use up before they go expired. Just throw it in. Just, you can fry it up, cook it up, and then because Tahchin is arranged from the bottom up, it means that once you have the layer of rice, the middle, you can do whatever you want with it. And I think that's perfect for us students to be able to just, be creative with it, use up what we need, and be able to accommodate for other guests that we have over. Or, maybe you're not having enough greens in your day, you can put more greens in.
So I will put some salt on top of the eggplants so the bitterness will come out.
And this actually makes the frying process much easier too because you have less excess water in the eggplant. So it just gets them to caramelize much quicker without just, boiling them in that excess water. So it's just a great technique. And as my mom said, a lot of Persians do it to get the bitterness out of the eggplant. And, it just results in a nicer, sweeter dish. And so as we wait for the water to draw, what my mother is going to do is pat down the eggplants. Again, that's to remove the water. But as we wait, I'll add some sunflower. Again, you don't want too much. You just want a very small layer so that all the eggplants, don't come directly in contact with the pan. I'm just going to just swish it around, see if that's enough. Get the mom approval. Mom, is this good?
Yeah, this is good. When it's too hot, then we can start adding them. So I put a little bit saffron here, a little bit. This is to grind the saffron. We can use any kind of grinder, but this is the grinder, hand one that the Persians use for grinding this. We have to grind it, and then we can add a piece of ice, or we can use a little bit cold water till the color and smell comes out. Maybe 4 teaspoons of water. And then I mix it, put it here to rest till the color comes out. Then I will make the batter in a bowl. So I put 1 egg. Half a cup of this regular yogurt. So it will be half a cup. Then I add here. And for the spice, you can use any kind of spice you like. Today, I just add black pepper and the salt and saffron, of course. We don't put lots of spice because saffron taste and color is the main thing in this dish. Salt and black pepper. So now I add the saffron to this batter. Look at this color.
So now what I'm going to do is my mom's patting down. The ones she already patted down, I think that the oil is hot enough, so I'm just going to put one down. You see that it's somewhat bubbling, so that means the pan's hot enough to put all the eggplants in. So I'm just going to go around, put it in. Just like putting pepperoni on a pizza. Just fill up the pan.
We need to add a little bit oil. Any kind of oil you like, you can add it. So the rice is ready, the water is gone. So if you see, this rice is ready. We have to leave it on the room temperature. So, and then when it is cold enough, we can add to this. I can maybe put it here till it becomes colder fast.
Can we put it somewhere else?
Put it on the stove over there.
While my mom's actually flipping the eggplants, what I can do is chop up the pistachios, because at the end of the dish, what we're gonna do for the the toppings, just to make it look very nice, and to put in some crunch, some sweetness, we're gonna be adding pistachios and barberries to the top of the dish after we fry them in a pan for a little bit, just to get their flavors to come out. If you really want to experience Persian culture, pistachio is a great way of getting into it. It's here you'll find California pistachios, and frankly, for this dish, that's more than enough. You could use any other nuts if you want, or if you have allergies, you don't need to use those at all.
It is just for decoration in this dish.
Yeah, I think it gives like a nice crunch.
Yes.
It looks very pretty because the inside of a pistachio, as I'll cut them open, is green too. So a dish that's very yellow, the green's a very nice color. The barberries are red. But what I just essentially do here, I kind of like cut it into halves, maybe into thirds if I want to, depending on its size. And this just allows the interior to open up, and that essentially allows you to be able to get the oils to come out as you fry them in the pan. Makes for very delicious.
So now the rice is in room temperature. We can add it to this batter we made, and then we mix it. It looks like a cake mix now. This amount is enough for 5 or 6 people. So we will mix it with this batter. So whenever the eggplant is ready, we can start making the Tachin. Is it ready now? Almost?
Almost ready.
Yeah, okay. So I add a little bit oil to this pan. Then we will start the first layer. The pan should be non-stick and it has a lid. So this is the pan I'm using today. For sure it should be non-stick because we have to turn it. So I add a little bit oil to cover the bottom of the pan. It should cover. So as I mentioned, you can use butter or any kind of liquid oil you want. Avocado oil, vegetable oil, sunflower, anything you want. Then I put the temperature on medium.
So now you can see that the eggplants are all nice and caramelized. What I did again is just pan fried them. I waited a few minutes. It depends on the temperature that you use and how much you cut your eggplants and how thick they are or what other vegetables you're using. But it shouldn't take very long, no more than 5 minutes, that's for sure. And as you can see, I'm just taking them off, putting them on a plate because this is going to be the center of our Tahchin. So, yeah.
So, now the oil is hot enough. We can add the first layer.
So right now we see why it's called Tahchin, because what's gonna be happening is that you're gonna be arranging the food from the bottom up, meaning that that first layer that you put on is actually gonna be the top of the Tahchin when we flip it. And so the word Tahchin means placed from the bottom. And now that she put down the first layer, you can go straight in with whatever vegetables or meat or other sorts of food options that you're using. For in our case, specifically eggplants. And after the first layer is put down, we put down our eggplants. And really, just like how we seared the eggplants, we want to cover the whole dish, sort of like, again, putting pepperoni on a pizza. And just go all the way around, make sure every area is covered. And you can see that it's bubbling up through, which is great. And again, so like how I would do it is if I have something in my fridge that I need to use, like let's say my vegetables might expire soon, or I have a lot of eggplants in the fridge, for instance, I would put it into a Tahchin because it's a great way to eat whatever you need to eat, and a great way to also be able to have in a very fun way and share with friends or meal prep it for the week. Because once you'll see at the end, once we flip it,
so if you like, you can put some cinnamon or some pepper on top. It depends to your taste of any spice you like. But I just add salt and black pepper to the batter. I think that's good. It is good for every taste. So now we add the top layer and we spread over. And then cover till I tell you when it's ready. The sides will be a little bit crispy and the batter is totally cooked. It takes 15 minutes on medium heat to be ready. So medium heat for this. Meanwhile, we can fry the barberry and pistachio, that is for top decoration. So first we don't fry them a lot, we don't want to be burnt. We just fry a little bit. Barberry fries so fast, even 30 seconds.
Okay, so what you have to do is just grab the plate, bring it over. You kind of don't want to drop it. You just gotta go a quick motion. There you go. Can you help me, Mom? And this is the moment of truth.
Yeah, here
that's
you
well
go.
done.
This is the crispy caramelized rice.
Just give it a second because I want to quickly talk about this because a lot of people, when they look at this, they don't know what it is.
Sure.
Many people look at this and they call it burnt rice, but this is intentionally done. And it's actually called tadig, which means the bottom of the pot. And what tadig is essentially you take rice and you let it cook for way longer than you normally would. And this allows you to make a crispy exterior to your rice. It's very crispy, it's caramelized rice. And I think it's a great addition that frankly you can do with just making rice on its own. What a lot of Persians do actually is they might, instead of putting a layer of rice at the very bottom of a pan, they might put some very flat bread. This allows the bread to crisp up, and that is tadig noon.
Yeah.
Or my favorite, and my mom makes this for me whenever she loves me the most, it's potato tadig.
Yeah.
You make the bottom of the pan, you put potatoes sliced, just like the eggplants, you cut them just like the eggplants that we did earlier, and you put them in the bottom pan, and then you put the layer of rice on top. When you flip that over,
it looks like this with the potatoes on top.
Yeah, and so usually for Tachin, you don't do that. You don't add potatoes, you just use the rice. And here you can see the gorgeous colors that you add. And I guess when I want people eating this dish, I want them to think about like the crispy pistachios that they're having, the sweetness that comes from the barberries. Think about how, one of the greatest, royalties in the world used to eat this at one point, and how I guess we're somewhat fortunate to be able to have access to all these ingredients because that's not something we really think about. And it's a great dish, like I said. You get to cut it up, and the perfect thing about this dish is all the ingredients that we use today. If you just increase them by multiplying them, you could have an even bigger dish. So for instance, my mom usually makes a bigger dish than this because she's either serving our whole family or a lot of guests. And then that way it even looks like a bigger cake.
Teeth, like a cake. You can cut with knife and then it comes out like this.
And I think it's like, for me personally, a big portion of this dish and why I love it so much is the fact that, you're sharing one dish around the table. For me, for instance, most recently with my friends, you have one dish, you get to bring everybody around the table and really just share part of your own culture with them. And, in this case, kind of like a birthday cake. It's a very festive dish. So how about
So we can put a little bit. It is yogurt, mint, garlic, and cucumber. You can add dill if you want. So we put it aside and we can eat that.
So, you want to dig in?
Yeah, but dig in.
Nusha John.
Nusha Jan means enjoy your food. Yeah, bon appetit. And it's crunchy.
Yeah, that's good. And then what do we say? Bah bah.
Yummy.
Bah bah.
Means yummy. Thank you so much for your patience for making this dish. And the thing is, if we don't do the talking, if we make it, it takes around 30 to 40 minutes. As you cook more, you are more expert and it takes a shorter time.
Good office.
Thank you. Bye.